Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host with the biggest nose, JZ Courtside, coming at y'all today on November 6th, 9 a.m. Eastern. We're doing it live. You guys already know we are live Monday through Friday doing this podcast, 9 a.m. Eastern. So if you want to join the live crew, you already know what to do. JZ Courtside on YouTube, JZ Uncut on Twitch, on Playback. You already know all the links that you need will be down in the description. Before we get into the fun stuff of this podcast, because believe me, we have a lot of fun stuff this pod. We're going to be breaking down the most, in my opinion, entertaining games from last night in no particular order. And then I'm going to be doing a segment that if you guys have watched or listened to No Dunks before, they are my favorite podcast for all things basketball. They do this segment called Is This News?, where they share a piece of news that's spreading around the league and decide whether or not it's newsworthy, whether or not it's valid enough to talk about and spread around this world. So with all of that, before we get into it, podcast listeners, be sure to leave a 5-star rating and review. Spotify, Apple Pod, I'm talking to you. I say this every time, and we haven't gotten a 5-star review in over a week. So please, if you are on Spotify and Apple, leave a 5-star review. And YouTube, be sure to drop a like and sub. It helps more than you guys could possibly understand. Live crew in the Twitch and Playback, I guess you can just sit back and enjoy. Now that we got all the laundry list stuff out of the way, let's get started with my personal favorite game from last night. You know, the Pistons won again, coming in and going crazy. Going absolutely bonkers against the Utah Jazz in Detroit. Now, the Pistons started this game down 12, as per usual. They have a very consistent way at starting all of the first quarters horribly. The Pistons have only led at the end of the first quarter one time this season. One time. So the fact that they were down 12 in this game was no surprise to me. I want to highlight a couple players who I think started slow and then started to gain a little bit more confidence. My man, Ausar Thompson, ended up finishing the game with 18 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, a block, and he was plus 22, the highest plus minus on the team. He shot 7 for 12 from field goal and 4 for 6 from free throw. If he can shoot that well from the free throw line every night, as well as bring that energy that he showed starting from the second quarter and on, this kid's got something special. Ausar's biggest issue is his lack of confidence. And in the first quarter, he looked like he didn't want to be that guy. He didn't want to be the one to shoot. Every time he caught the ball, he sort of questioned what his next move was. And that was like Ausar as of late. He was doing this last year. But this Ausar is completely different from last year's Ausar. He needs to stay constant and aggressive. Now, mind you, the Pistons, I do want to reiterate, and the reason why I'm talking about them first is because I feel like teams and fans around the world are not taking the Pistons seriously. And I just have to reiterate, the Pistons are missing their starting shooting guard in Jaden Ivey, has not played this season. They are missing their backup point guard in Marcus Sasser, and they are missing their starting power forward in Tobias Harris. So the Pistons are missing 3 rotational guys. And yet they are still on a 4-game win streak. They got through the hardest part of their schedule, and now they've won 4 in a row. They are now second in the Eastern Conference, right behind the Bulls. And the Pistons could easily jump them. So when you look at what's going on right now with the Detroit Pistons, it all starts with obviously Cade Cunningham, 2 games in a row, scoring 19 points in the fourth quarter. 19 of his 31, all in the fourth quarter. Now, that is just absolutely unbelievable. It shows you how much of a clutch player he is. I think he's the number 1 candidate in voting right now for Clutch Player of the Year. Let me just read you these stats real quick about Cade Cunningham. Let me just the NBA, around the NBA in the fourth quarter. So these are players, the top 5 players in the NBA in points scored in the fourth. Devin Booker's at 5th with 54 points in the fourth quarter. Number 4 is Giannis Antetokounmpo with 60 points scored in fourth quarters alone. Austin Reeves with 61. Tyrese Maxey at number 2 with 70 points in all of fourth quarters this year. At number 1, you guessed it, is Cade Parker Cunningham. Cade Parker Cunningham has scored 86 points in fourth quarters alone. That's not a typo. In the fourth quarters alone, he has scored 86 points. On top of that, and this is a very, very non-talked about topic, the Pistons' points in the paint through the first 8 games of this year is 470. The Pistons' points in the paint allowed through the first 8 games, so points scored on them in the paint, 318. They are outscoring their opponents in the paint by 150. They're outscoring their opponents by 150 just in the paint alone. Now, the shooting's not great. They had 5 threes going into the third quarter made. They were not shooting well. They ended up finishing with, I think, 11 or 12. So the Pistons really are not being talked about as serious. I feel like a lot of people are grouping the Pistons right now into the category of the 76ers and the Bulls, where teams are not looking at them as serious top 3 seeds. The Pistons are not the 76ers. They are not the Chicago Bulls. And I want to reiterate this again. Everyone had the Magic and Hawks above the Detroit Pistons. And people thought that the Pistons just had a lateral move. Now, I'll admit, I'm not a fan of Karis LeVert yet. He has not convinced me. Duncan Robinson's been a great signing, but we need more shooting. But what I will say is people thought that this was a lateral offseason for the Detroit Pistons. It's not. When you have a Cade Cunningham, when you have an Ausar Thompson, when you have a soon-to-be Jaden Ivey, when you have a Jalen Duren, when you have an Isaiah Stewart, when you have a Ron Holland, when you have all these young guys gaining an extra offseason and an extra season to progress their game, that is not lateral in any way. Jalen Duren, buddy, you're going to get a huge extension next summer. And absolutely, I'm locked in. I'm locked in. Jalen Duren's locked in. 22 points, 22 rebounds, 3 assists, a block. 10 for 15 shooting. Jalen Duren, again, 22 points, 22 rebounds in this game. Duren, we didn't really want to extend you in the summer. We needed to see more. And guess what? This year, you have shown us more. Unbelievable game. Cade Cunningham, 31 points, 10 assists, a double-double. The way this team is looking right now, just absolutely unbelievable. With the energy of Ron Holland and B-Ball Paul off the bench, it's just a beautiful thing to see. And they're still missing 2 starters, and they're missing their backup point guard. Now, I would not be opposed to Isaiah Stewart taking Tobias Harris's 4 spot, but that's mainly because Tobias always starts the season slow. So I'm hoping to see that Tobias can start locking in, because his veteran leadership really is an understated thing on this team. So the Detroit Pistons go on for 4 in a row, and they're looking for that number 1 spot in the East. Let's go ahead and move on to our next game to break down. The Portland Trailblazers come back from down 22 and take out the Oklahoma City Thunder, handing them their first loss, and I called it. I called it yesterday in my pick'ems. I said the Portland Trailblazers are going to shock the OKC Thunder. I called it. I fully called it. I just had a weird feeling that Portland was going to upset them, and they did. Denny Avdia at one point, I love Denny. I absolutely love Denny. He's one of my favorite players in the league right now. I think at one point he had like 4 points, but 12 of them were free throws. Sorry, he had 14 points, but like 12 of them were free throws. He finished the game with 26 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists, almost a triple-double, 2 steals, 1 block, plus 6 on the court, and he shot 5 for 17. Horrible shooting splits. Horrible. But he had 15 free throws. 15 of them. That is not a typo. He was doing his best Shea impression last night. Toumani Camara, 16 points. Donovan Clingan, 7 points, 8 rebounds. Shaedon Sharpe, 18. Drew Holiday, 22. Jeremy Grant, 20. Reith, 12. Like, this team is looking deeper and deeper by the minute. They don't have Scoot Henderson right now, so that wasn't helping. They obviously still don't have Damian Lillard all year. The veterans for this team has made Portland look like an actual competent play-in team. The Trailblazers need to be taken a bit more serious. They are not a walk in the park anymore. Now, I don't know if this has anything to do with Thiago Splitter stepping up and being the head coach ever since Chauncey Billups got arrested and now he's being investigated by the FBI. My dog Reiner keeps approaching me. If you guys are in the live crew right now, you can see that he has something around his head, and that's because he is licking his paw. Sorry to get off topic. He keeps walking in here and looking at me. I'm not sure. I hope he's okay, but yeah, he has a little allergy on his paw, so had to stop him from licking it. Anyway, sorry, I got a little off topic. The Portland Trailblazers are fun. The Portland Trailblazers are a fun basketball team. They allowed OKC to score 41 in the first quarter while they scored 21. They were down 22 points. They clawed a little bit back in the second. They clawed a little bit back in the third. And then they clawed a lot of bit back in the fourth quarter. 40 points scored in the fourth quarter, and they win by 2. Now, the Thunder, I do want to reiterate. I got to reiterate this. They're missing J-Dub. They're missing Alex Caruso. They're missing Lou Dort. They're missing Chet Holmgren. They're missing, obviously, Nikola Topic just got diagnosed with testicular cancer. So prayers out to him and his family. Hopefully Nikola Topic, he's way too young to be dealing with testicular cancer. I think he's 20 years old. And yeah, they're missing everybody. Like the OKC Thunder are missing Dort, that's a starter. J-Dub, that's a starter. Chet, that's a starter. They're missing 3 starters, and then they're missing Caruso off the bench, Kenrich Williams off the bench, and yeah. I mean, this team, honestly, it's unbelievable, like how they can just do this thing by committee. Because Isaiah Hartenstein still went 10 and 11. Aaron Wiggins, 27 points, 7 threes hit. 7. He hit 7 threes. AJ Mitchell, Cason Wallace, and then Shea, no matter what, Shea is always finishing with minimum 30 points. Minimum 30 points. Like, I don't know how he continues to do this, but he makes it look effortless. He makes it look effortless over and over and over again. I want to give a massive shout out to the homie Isaiah Joe as well. I kept saying that Isaiah Joe, when he comes back, is going to prove valuable to this team. And he keeps doing it. I honestly am unsure who's going to be taking the minutes from AJ Mitchell, but I think AJ Mitchell is going to be taking a lot of minutes from like Kenrich Williams, or I mean, who else can you do? An Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe? This team has too much talent. And here I am talking about them when the Portland Trailblazers won. Jeremy Grant and Drew Holiday have been more than magnificent for this team. Donovan Clingan is showing improvement every single game. Danny Avdija is like, it was between him and Franz Wagner who are going to be like my favorite 3 in the league off the Pistons, right? And I think I am more and more convinced that it is going to be Danny Avdija. He's one of my favorite players in the NBA. Point blank, period. Last night was an ugly game, and he had he damn near had a 30-point triple-double. Jeremy Grant may not want to be on Portland anymore, but he is proving a valuable member to this team. Nobody's going to trade for Jeremy Grant. He's not really a winning type player, but Thiago Splitter inserted Danny Avdija into the starting lineup, and Jeremy Grant is still dropping 20 points off the bench every single game. It's unbelievable. Shout out to the Trailblazers for doing it, man. I picked them in my pick'em last night. I had a feeling that Portland was going to do it. I had a strong feeling that they were going to win last night, and by golly, they did. By golly, they freaking did. And you know what? They did it by committee. They had Reith, Grant, Holiday, Sharp, Kamara, and Danny Avdija all score in double digits. 3 of them in the 20s. That's 6 players in the double digits, 3 of them in the 20s. Great win for the Portland Trailblazers. Now, obviously, I didn't stay up this late. My apologies again if I am losing my voice. I've been doing a lot of recording lately on the main channel, Jay-Z Uncut. We're doing NBA documentaries, so be sure to tap into that. Link will be down below. I have been watching all of the fully condensed versions of all of these games. Before I move on, sorry. Scoot Henderson. My apologies. I want to just touch on briefly Scoot Henderson, and then over there in Atlanta, Zachary Richache. Now, people keep saying they're putting blame on Cooper Flagg. They're putting blame on VJ Edgecombe somehow. They're putting blame on Ace Bailey. I think what people are slowly starting to realize is you cannot judge these young guys so quickly. But then you have a Scoot Henderson, and that's where things start getting a bit complicated. You know, Scoot Henderson, he's still only 21, but people are judging him like he's much older than he is. Now, the unfortunate part about Scoot and Zachary Richache is we knew their draft class wasn't good. So nobody's really talking about them being busts. The reason why people are throwing so much flack on a Cooper Flagg is because he was hailed to be the next big thing. But because people looked at that draft as a Scoot, as a Richache, since they look at that as a weak draft, they don't put that pressure that they have on Coop onto them. So great point by the live crew and the Twitch. I really wanted to touch base on that. Now, I think the most entertaining game of from last night. I didn't stay up to watch this. I watched the first half and that was it. But I watched the fully condensed version of the game this morning without knowing the outcome either. Absolutely unbelievable game from the Los Angeles Lakers. Battled back from down 12 late and won the game against Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs. We all know Luka's averaging like 38 points per game right now. Luka's doing his thing. He's looking absolutely incredible. There's not much else I could say about Luka Doncic other than this kid is magnificent. And I just can't believe how good of a player he is. I can't believe it. We could talk about Luka Doncic all day. I'm not going to though, because I want to talk about a player who was heavily, and I mean heavily, scrutinized going into this season. DeAndre Ayton, I'm proud to say that I never stopped believing you, my guy. 22 points, 10 rebounds, 9 for 13 shooting, 2 blocks, and a steal. DeAndre Ayton has been known for performing in games that don't really matter. Yet, when I see him in a Lakers jersey, I'm seeing a different... Now, I'll admit, in the beginning of the games, he always starts a little bit slow. He's got to get his feeling, right? What I've seen him when I've seen him in a Lakers jersey, I'm seeing him go for these closeouts at the perimeter. I'm seeing him chase down block. I'm seeing him both hands up in the air, not allowing a bucket in the paint. DeAndre Ayton, I remember after the very first game of this season, the Los Angeles Lakers and all of their fans were ridiculing you, destroying you online after your very first game with the Lakers. And I'm so happy that you're getting those chants now, man. You have proved me wrong. You have proved everyone wrong. Keep doing what you're doing. I don't want to jinx myself, but keep on doing it. You are playing out of your mind. And I think when LeBron comes back, this kid will play even better. He's still a kid. He's still a kid. How old is DeAndre Ayton? I think he's 26, right? He's 27. He's my age. Okay, he might be a little old then. And here's the thing. LeBron still does not have a time or a date that he's returning. Austin Reeves had a sore right groin. Gabe Vincent still is not in. And I think the more the Lakers keep winning, I think LeBron might push back his return, or it might make him even more eager to return. Here's what I'll say. Could you imagine LeBron could miss like 30 games? Let's say 30 games, right? Maybe take a couple off in March, April. Could you imagine having a rejuvenated LeBron James going into the playoffs with a Luka Doncic, with an Austin Reeves? Could you imagine how dangerous this team's going to look like? Jake LaRavia had his worst game of the season, 8 points, 3 for 9. Rui Hachimura did his thing. He had some crucial defensive possessions against Victor Wembanyama late game. And I have still not talked about the man of the hour, Marcus Smart. You almost sold this, my boy. You almost sold this. You helped the Lakers come back. Not sure if you guys seen the play, but Marcus Smart, when they were up 2, inbounded the ball, tried to throw a full court heave, and his foot was on the baseline or sideline, baseline. Yeah. His foot was on the baseline. So it was a turnover. And then the Spurs had the ball and they fouled him. Unfortunately for the Spurs fans, they missed both free throws, but they got the ball back. I mean, this ending was wild. This ending was wild. Even on the second missed free throw, they almost got the tip in to send the game to overtime. They almost did. Marcus Smart basically won them this game, and then he almost lost them this game at the same time. Marcus Smart still getting his feet underneath him. He shot 1 for 7 from three-point land, but he had 10 free throws, 17 points. Marcus Smart's doing his thing offensively and defensively. They made this thing very difficult for Victor Wembanyama. They may not be nearly as tall as him, but man, when they trap him, Rui and Marcus Smart are there's something. And Marcus Smart, I'm very happy for him because he is having a resurrection of a year. He's having a rebirth of a season. He's had a couple wasted seasons in Washington and Memphis, and now the Marcus Smart experiment has been pretty fun. I think the Lakers fans are really enjoying him being on a part of the team. I know if Marcus Smart was on the Pistons, I'd be rooting for him like crazy. Now, let's talk about the Spurs side of things, right? Before we move on to our next segment of Is This News? I see Spurs fans really going crazy on Julian Champagnie, and I've been giving him a lot of props this year, but he's had a couple bad games. He shot 5 for 14, 3 for 8 from deep. He had 14 points. I wouldn't even say this is that bad of a game. The issue with the Spurs is nobody really shot well except for Keldon Johnson and Harrison Barnes. Let's go through it real quick. Champagnie, 5 for 14. Harrison Barnes, 4 for 6. Victor Wembanyama, 5 for 14. Missed both threes. Devin Vassell, 5 for 14. That was their number. Oh my God. 3 players shot 5 for 14. Stephon Castle, 3 for 11. Worst game of the season for him. Keldon Johnson, 4 for 4. Jeremy Sohan, my bad. Shot out. 6 for 7. Lindy Waters III, former Piston, never played for us. 2 for 2. Kelly Olynyk, 2 for 2. Jordan McLaughlin didn't shoot a single time. The issue with the Spurs right now is I was watching the end game, and in that condensed game that I was watching, you know what it looked like? Wemby, save us. Wemby, save us. Wemby, here's the ball. Do something. Do it. They need De'Aaron Fox back. Obviously, what's his name? Dylan Harper's going to be missing some games here, but they need De'Aaron Fox back. I think people have started when they saw Stephon Castle, Devin Vassell, Dylan Harper playing well, and I'm taking blame for this as well. I started to think, where is De'Aaron Fox's spot on this team? The last 2 losses is where they need De'Aaron Fox. The Spurs are now 5-2. They've dropped 2 straight against the Suns and now the Lakers. And the same issue keeps occurring. They don't have a playmaker with this team. You could look at Stephon Castle and say he has 8 assists, but I promise assist numbers is not what I mean by being a playmaker. There's a lot of games where Cade Cunningham only has 10 assists, but in reality, he should have 20 to 30 if his teammates hit their shots. So it's the shots that Stephon Castle is not setting people up for. That's the biggest issue at hand. De'Aaron Fox has a gravity. He doesn't have Wembanyama gravity, but he does have a center of gravity, and he will start moving players on the court. If De'Aaron Fox is at the perimeter and they set a screen, they're going to go over that screen. Victor Wembanyama is going to roll, and he's going to have an open cut to the basket. If De'Aaron Fox is driving to the basket off a pick and roll, guess what? Both players are going to collapse. Somebody's going to be open in either corner, or Wembanyama is going to be open at the top. They need De'Aaron Fox back. Like, actually need De'Aaron Fox back. That's the Spurs' biggest issue right now. They do not have a prolific amount of gravity other than Victor Wembanyama. With the way that these teams, my apologies, I was taking a drink. I still had some in my mouth when I was trying to talk. The way that the Spurs can start winning, they can do it by committee, but nobody's getting real open shots. They're saying anybody but Wemby. Anybody but Wemby. And last night, when you have 3 for 11, 5 for 14, 5 for 14 all around Wemby, that's not going to cut it. Not enough gravity is there. All right, guys, we are going to move on to our next segment. This podcast isn't going to be that long. My apologies again. Like I said, I am losing my voice. I've been doing a lot of work on the main channel, Jay-Z Uncut, and we were live on Playback last night doing a watch party watching the Pistons and Jazz, then Heat Nuggets. So again, guys, all the links that you need will be down below. Again, take a quick second to leave a 5-star rating and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And if you are on YouTube, be sure to drop a like and subscribe. It helps more than you guys could possibly understand. You already know we do these live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern. Now, let's get into our next topic. Is this news? Bam Adebayo suffers a foot injury last night against the Denver Nuggets. Like I said, we were watching this game on playback last night. We were watching it live. And at first, I didn't see the injury until we heard the commentator say he's questionable to return. Now, I'm going to give credit where credit is due here. Miami fought. They really fought until the end. When I saw Bam go down and they said he wasn't going to return, I honestly just wrote them off. I said this is about to be a 40-point blowout. But Miami did their thing. They did as well as they could have without Bam. The 3-point was falling last night. I mean, they shot 34%, but they hit 14 of them. They shot a lot better than Denver. I will say that. Free throws are about even across both teams. They got killed on the glass, and that's because they didn't have Bam. I mean, they got destroyed on the glass, 61-38 on total rebounds. They allowed Denver to get 21 offensive rebounds. Assists, they lost that. The Heat got more steals, but yeah, overall, the Heat wanted to play fast. They want to play fast, and they did, but slowly but surely, they started to get a little bit more comfortable in half court and getting pushed against. So what I will say, impressive performance from Andrew Wiggins. He keeps doing it, right? But we can talk about all the players, Norman Powell, Jaime Jaquez, who I love. The biggest issue right now is this news of Bam Adebayo suffering a foot injury in just 8 minutes of play. What I will say is he is getting an MRI today. They might not have the results until tomorrow, maybe even Saturday. Something is worrisome for me. If the Heat are missing Bam for any sort of extended period, I could see a big slide. I could see a big slide in their record. I'm going to look at their schedule and we can look at it together. Based off of a foot injury, I don't care what the MRI says. I think it's just good to assume right now that Miami is going to be without Bam. Let's say 2 weeks, just to be safe. Just to be safe. Let's say the MRI is good, nothing happened. Let's just look at their schedule over the next 2 weeks and see if they can maintain. They got the Hornets, but it's in Miami. That's a win. Even without Bam, that's a win. In Miami against the Trailblazers, that'll be tough, but they don't really have like a prolific big. Donovan Clingan. In Miami against the Cavs, so they are home for 4 games in a row, actually. The Cavs could be tough. Actually, that's a loss. Yeah, I mean, the Cavs Twin Towers are just yeah, that's crazy. And then Cavs again, literally 2 days after that. Then the Knicks. Oof. And then the Knicks. That's back-to-back against the Cavs, then the Knicks. And then the Warriors. And then the Bulls. 76ers. And then you get a little time off of the Mavericks. But after that, it's the Bucks, Pistons, Clippers. Yeah. So my point being, yes, this is news. This is major news because the Miami Heat were looking good this year. And it all starts with their big man down low. Right now they are 9th in the standings, so they are a play-in team, which is what they were predicted to be, as always. When you look at the teams behind them, I could see the Magic jumping them. I could see maybe the Celtics. I don't know. I'm not really a believer at this point. But no matter what, the Heat are going to be a play-in team minimum, even without Bam. I can't see the Hornets or, even the Celtics for that matter jumping them. But yes, this is news. This is news. Bam Adebayo's foot injury. And hopefully for Heat fans, everything will be fine. But without Bam Adebayo, it's not looking good. Let's move on to our next topic. And this might sound crazy. Minnesota slow start. I have not talked about Minnesota this season so far. I have not talked about them in the podcast. Hear me out. I found something very interesting the other day. I found something very, very interesting. I'm going to say something, and it's going to make you take a little step back. The Timberwolves fall to 4-4 after losing last night against New York. Remember, they just got Anthony Edwards back. Their 4 wins, hear me out, are against the Brooklyn Nets, who just got their first win, the Indiana Pacers, who just recently got their first win, the Hornets, who they don't need an introduction. You know who the Charlotte Hornets are, and the Blazers. Blazers are okay. So when you're looking at that, that's basically one play-in team at best and 3 of lottery teams that they've won against. The Minnesota Timberwolves are worrying me a bit. I feel like they're having a very slow start to this season. Now they've made 2 Western Conference Finals in a row. So I wouldn't be too worried about it. My issue about the Timberwolves is this is the West, baby. This is the West. You can't allow to lose some of these games. These games will start adding up. So Timberwolves, I want to say this is not news for now, and that's why I'm just now bringing it up. I'm going to go ahead and say this is not news. I think Anthony Edwards coming in and out of the lineup. I think them losing Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I think all of these things combining into one throughout the season has been a little bit of a learning curve for the Timberwolves. I think my biggest issue right now is that they just don't have a point guard. And I see some people talking about trading for Ja Morant. First and foremost, a Ja Morant trade, I'll talk about this real quick, to the Timberwolves would involve a Rudy Gobert and Rob Dillingham. That's what the trade would look like. That's the only trade that would look like, because they're not going to trade Julius Randle. They just extended him. It would be a Rudy Gobert and a Rob Dillingham. Now, when you look at that trade straight up, they are trading their whole identity at that point. Defense goes out the window, because then you would have to start Naz Reid. That's a whole different lineup. You have Ja, Ant, McDaniels, Julius Randle, and then you'd have Naz Reid at the center. That is not going to work. And here's what I'll tell you. You have to lose again this year. You have to take another step back. You've made 2 conference finals in a row. If you get eliminated in the first round, if you get eliminated in the second round, I think at that point, then Gobert's getting older. Gobert's getting slower. Gobert's only going to get worse. His contract's only going to look worse. You have to make a decision. Is defense going to be our face? Is that what we're going to be? Is that what we're still going for? I don't think you should make the switch from a heavily defensive focused team to a heavily offensive focused team with a Ja Morant so soon. You need to see how this year plays out. So is the Minnesota Timberwolves slow start news? I don't think so. Remember, not everything we go through needs to be news. Otherwise, it would be called, it wouldn't be called, I would not be asking you a question if this is news. I would just tell you straight up that this is news. So I don't think the Timberwolves slow start is news just yet, but I think it's something that is worth paying attention to. I think it's absolutely worth paying attention to. Now, for our final topic of Is This News? Dallas has the worst record in the West. And, oh boy, I don't know what to say. We talked about this yesterday, but I think I want to talk about it again. The Mavericks are 2-6. They have the worst record in the West. They're missing Anthony Davis. They have no identity whatsoever. They were supposed to be a defensive-minded team. Defense wins championships, according to Nico Harrison. They have no defense. In fact, let me just show you how bad they truly are. They also have no offense. They are 30th in the league in scoring. 30th. That means last place in scoring with 106 points per game. They are 28th in assists, meaning they don't pass the ball. They are 8th in blocks. That's not bad. They are 30th in field goals made, 26th in field goals attempted, 30th in three-pointers made, 28th in three-point percentage, 28th in true shooting. The Dallas Mavericks, oh man, I don't understand. I'll say this much. If I was a Dallas fan, if I was from Dallas, I'm switching my fan base. I'm moving, for God's sake. There's no way. I'll just tell you this. If the Pistons traded Cade Cunningham, my life would be over. And Cade Cunningham is not done with what Luka Doncic was doing for Dallas. Cade Cunningham has changed my life. I can't imagine what it was like to have Luka Doncic as your savior of your city. So at this point in time, I would like to apologize to all Dallas fans again, because I can't get over this. This is something, and I know people tell me, stop complaining, stop talking about it, dwelling on it isn't going to change the outcome. It's not going to change the outcome. I can't stop. I can't stop. There was no reason for this. He was overweight, so you traded him. He's a generational talent. You traded him. You're the worst in the league. You're the worst in the West, not worst in the league. My apologies. Cooper Flagg, he had 20 points last night, but what does that change, man? What does that change? I'm sorry, but Cooper Flagg, don't throw tomatoes at me when I say this, will never be Luka Doncic. Never. He will never be the player, the individual player to player, Luka versus Cooper. He will never be Luka Doncic. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope one day somebody can clip this, make an edit out of it, make me look like a fool. But when you look, this was not their plan. They did not know they were going to get Cooper Flagg. So I hate when people say, yeah, but at least we got Cooper. That wasn't supposed to happen. It just happened. You got lucky. Let's look at the trade at the face value. Let's look at it as day frickin' one, not post-draft, pre-lottery. They traded Luka Doncic, who's averaging 37, 38 points right now per game, for Anthony Davis, who's not playing. This is not just the worst trade in basketball history. This is the worst trade in sports history. I've never seen a trade quite like this before. Alter a franchise in such a negative manner, in such a fast process. Let's just say real quick. Let's just imagine this, y'all. You want to get wild? Let's imagine Dallas didn't win that lottery. Let's just imagine they didn't have the ability to say, Cooper will improve, Cooper will get better. Imagine that it was just AD and Max Christie. Imagine that was it. Imagine. There is no positive. Dallas fans right now would be rooting for D'Angelo Russell, Dwight Powell, and Klay Thompson. That's what they would be rooting for if they didn't get Cooper Flagg. The fact that they can still say, at least we have Cooper, he's improving. At least they can say, like, the fact that they can say that, I think that saved a lot of people's lives. I'm not going to lie. They would be rooting for D'Angelo Russell. And Dallas has the worst record in the West. Is this news? No, it's not. It's not news. We all expected this. We all expected this pre-Cooper Flagg. We all expected this post-Cooper Flagg. The fact that people thought Cooper was going to come in and just behave like LeBron James or Michael Jordan is asinine. That was not going to happen. And that's going to wrap it up with Is This News? I hope you guys enjoyed that segment. We'll be mixing it up and hopefully doing that every week, maybe every other week. We'll see. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it with today's episode. Again, I do want to say, podcast listeners, 5-star ratings, 5-star review. YouTube watchers, live crew, y'all really don't talk over there, but drop a like, subscribe. We do this Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern. Oh, I was going to say, yeah, Kyrie can't fix this either. Sorry, forgot to say that. Thank you, Twitch. Thank you, live crew. Appreciate you guys. YouTube, drop a like, drop a sub. It would really, really, really help us out. All right, guys, we'll be back tomorrow morning for Friday, Frisky Friday. 9 a.m. Eastern. 9 a.m. Eastern. So tune in live. If you're watching this after the fact, tune in live. 9 a.m. Eastern. All right? I got nothing left to say. except for thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. And as always, guys, thanks for watching / listening. I appreciate y'all.